Ledian is one of the most famously awful Pokemon of all time, but it still finds a genuine niche in GCNU. Ledian on its own is a horrible Pokemon. Its attacking stats are abysmal and the rest of its stats aren't much better. Its typing leaves it with common weaknesses, and its move pool is incredibly shallow. It should and would be a terrible Pokemon in GCNU, but its viability is saved by a single move: Baton Pass. Baton Pass is one of the most overpowered moves across the 9 generations of competitive Pokemon. Baton Pass passes stats boosts from one Pokemon to another, which can be game breaking under certain circumstances. Ledian is one of the very few Pokemon in GCNU to learn this move, and it is able to pass Agility and Barrier, as well as set up Light Screen. Thus, Ledian is one of the 2 premier Agility Pass users in GCNU, and one of the most lethal Pokemon in the tier if given an opportunity. Farfetch'd and Ledian both go about agility passing in a different way. Farfetch is more offensively minded than Ledian, since it learns Sword Stance and uses an attacking move with Return. Ledian, meanwhile, focuses on setting up the ideal scenario for its agility recipient. Ledian's special defense is very high by GCNU standards, and it learns Light Screen. While Ledian is weak to all of electric, ice, and fire, it can tank those hits semi-well under Light Screen. Ledian is also decent at switching in and setting up on Xatu, the most common Pokemon in the metagame. Barrier also lets Ledian, as well as its teammates, tank hits from the tier's physical attackers, like Fearow, Primeape, and Dugtrio. It is recommended you agility the first turn you have Ledian out, because after that, you can choose to set up defenses or pass agility to your recipient. As for recipients, the most common 3 are Cubone, Statler, and Lickitung. With Thick Club equipped, Cubone becomes an incredibly strong physical attacker, but it is held back by its poor speed and bulk. This is why it works so well as an agility pass recipient. At +2 attack, very few Pokemon can tank an Earthquake from Cubone, while it outspeeds everything in the metagame bar Dugtrio at +2 speed. Dugtrio doesn't threaten Cubone that much anyway. With Light Screen and Barrier support from Ledian, Cubone has the best shot at setting up Sword Stance after being passed in Agility. If Cubone is passed in Agility, and it gets the opportunity to Sword Stance, then the game is most likely over. Statler also works well as an Agility recipient. At +2 speed, Statler can use Curse and get +1 attack, defense, and speed, turning it into an offensive powerhouse. Statler itself also fits well onto agility pass teams due to its supporting move pool. Lastly, Lickitung can use Belly Drum after receiving an agility, which is a game ender the most of the time. Everything that isn't named Shuckle is going to get pummeled by a +6 Lickitung. Lickitung greatly appreciates Light Screen and Barrier support, since it needs to sacrifice 50% of its health to get the Belly Drum off in the first place. Ledian can also pass agility to other Baton Pass users on Baton Pass chains. Pokemon like Flareon and Ariados have an easier time setting up growth or trapping with Spiderweb, respectively, when they are at +2 speed. Ledian is a terrible Pokemon to give free turns to as a result. If you give this thing free turns, it will set up agility and pass it to Cubone, which will just then destroy you. Ledian is flawed, but it can be an incredibly dangerous support Pokemon. Don't try anything that isn't Baton Pass related on Ledian. Its attacking stats are so bad that a mixed set is just throwing the game. In the Mr. Mime metagame, Baton Pass strats, and as a result Ledian, weren't explored much. Agility Pass probably would have been decent in this metagame, but we don't know because the tier wasn't explored to its full potential. The Raichu metagames were a similar story for Ledian. Running anything in these metagames that wasn't Raichu plus Water Stall was risky, and Baton Pass teams had defensive issues. This tier also wasn't explored to its fullest, and so Ledian was very rarely used. It wasn't until the modern metagame that Ledian was fully explored. In the autumn of 2020, Baton Pass teams got explored in GSCNU, and people finally realised that they were pretty decent. At first, people favoured Farfetch more than Ledian, but it eventually shifted to them both being equals. Early Agility Pass teams were more focused on supporting Ledian and Farfetch'd, but Agility Pass now tries to hide Ledian and Farfetch'd so they can surprise the opponent and pass to Cubone. As time has gone on though, Agility Pass, and as a result Ledian have started to dip in popularity. Agility Pass teams have numerous defensive issues against common Pokemon, like Dugtrio, Weezing, Kingler, Explosion users, and every normal type. Ledian itself doesn't check anything, and it lets numerous Pokemon in. Ledian is completely useless offensively on its own, because, well, it doesn't use attacking moves. This means the whole tier can come in on it and abuse Ledian. Ledian's bulk is not great, and its typing leaves it with weaknesses to ice, and fire, electric, rock, and flying, so many Pokemon can easily break through Ledian, especially setup sweepers. It also means Ledian can't do much to Roar and Haze users, unlike Farfetch'd, who can smack them with a boosted return as they Roar or Haze it. Speaking of Farfetch'd, it outclasses Ledian, and teams that aren't Agility Pass can even overshine Ledian on Agility Pass itself. Agility Pass teams are inconsistent, gimmicky, and matchup fishy, which all extend to Ledian itself. While Ledian can be very dangerous, it can also flop extremely hard.